Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. In the heart of Paris, where every camera flash tells a story of power, beauty, and identity. One name turned the entire fashion world upside down. Wang Yibo. From being mocked for a single unflattering photo to standing center stage under the grand lights of Loewe, Wang Yibo didn't just make a comeback. He redefined what it means to rise with grace. And when a respected actress like Xin Zhilei publicly praised him, the world finally stopped and listened. Under the shimmering lights of Paris Fashion Week 2025, Wang Yibo's presence at the Loewe runway became more than a fashion moment. It was a defining chapter in his artistic journey. Gone were the whispers of doubt that once surrounded his name. In their place stood a man who had quietly transformed himself through resilience and an unshakable belief in his craft. As the cameras turned toward him, there was an undeniable shift in the atmosphere. He wasn't simply attending an event. He was reclaiming his narrative. Every detail of his appearance at Loewe reflected that transformation. The outfit, a daring blend of rebellion and refinement, seemed almost to challenge convention. It wasn't designed to please everyone. It was designed to speak a truth. The deep hues, the clean lines, and the unexpected textures all hinted at a confidence that had been forged in fire. When Wang Yibo stepped onto that runway, he embodied a paradox that only true artists can carry. Calm yet defiant, elegant yet unapologetically bold. His expression was serene, but behind it lay a storm of conviction. The audience could sense it. The way he held himself, the subtle grace in his movements, the quiet authority in his gaze. He was not following trends, he was defining one. Fashion insiders later described that moment as a revelation. What once had been called eccentric was now praised as visionary. Critics who had mocked his previous appearances found themselves confronted by a completely different energy. One that was untouchable, magnetic, and self-assured. In Paris, a city that worships authenticity and artistry, Wang Yibo fit not as a visitor but as a statement. He stood at the intersection of cultures, carrying with him the pride of modern China and the sophistication of global fashion. This was more than a change in image. It was an awakening. Wang Yibo had learned that power in fashion, as in life, doesn't come from noise. It comes from presence. His transformation wasn't loud or forced. It was deliberate, quiet, and complete. By the time the show ended, the conversation had shifted entirely. The world no longer spoke of the boy who was doubted. They spoke of the man who arrived in Paris and, without uttering a single word, showed them what true class really looks like. When the spotlight turned to Xin Zhilei, one of China's most respected and eloquent actresses, no one expected her words to become the turning point in Wang Yibo's evolving journey. During an interview following the Loewe show, she was asked about the new generation of artists, those who blend performance, creativity, and individuality. She paused briefly before speaking, her tone calm yet resolute. Wang Yibo, she said, is different. He shines in ways that cannot be replicated. His work isn't about fame or fashion. It's about understanding art itself. Those words, though simple, carried the weight of authenticity and experience. Coming from someone known for her integrity and refined artistic taste, they did more than compliment him, they validated him. In a world where public opinion shifts with every trending hashtag, Xin Zhilei's recognition of Wang Yibo felt deeply human, almost sacred. It wasn't scripted or polite. It was genuine admiration from one artist to another. For years, Wang Yibo had faced skepticism from those who dismissed him as merely a handsome idol, a product of commercial success rather than true talent. Yet, in that brief interview, Xin Zhilei shattered that illusion. She saw in him not a celebrity trying to stay relevant, but a performer who carried both courage and sensitivity, a man who had learned to express himself through movement, silence, and presence. Her words echoed far beyond that interview room. Fans replayed the clip endlessly, touched by how effortlessly she articulated what they had always believed. Industry veterans began to take notice too. Suddenly, Wang Yibo's name was no longer just attached to fashion headlines. It appeared in conversations about artistic evolution and cross-cultural influence. Even among skeptics, there was a quiet acknowledgement that something had changed. But what made Xin Zhilei's statement truly powerful was its sincerity. She didn't speak to flatter him. She spoke as someone who recognized the discipline behind his calm, the intellect behind his artistry, and the vulnerability behind his strength. That moment wasn't just praise. It was a passing of the torch from one generation of Chinese talent to the next. And for Wang Yibo, it became a symbol of something greater than validation. It was proof that authenticity always finds its audience, and that when talent meets humility, the world eventually learns to listen. There was a time when Wang Yibo's name seemed to exist at the center of ridicule rather than reverence. A single unflattering photo had unleashed waves of criticism, his face called puffy, his eyes tired, his presence fading. For weeks, social media echoed with cruel comparisons and dismissive remarks. He was labeled an idol whose charm had expired, a product of beauty rather than substance. Yet, in the silence that followed, Wang Yibo did something that most in the spotlight rarely dare to do. He did not respond. He chose not to defend himself with words, but with evolution. Behind the scenes, he refined his craft. He spent hours studying expression, rhythm, and visual storytelling. Instead of seeking validation, he sought truth, in his work, in his style, in himself. So when he returned to Paris for Fashion Week, his quiet confidence told a story no tabloid could rewrite. Every step he took on that carpet was deliberate, almost poetic. It wasn't arrogance. It was awareness, the composure of someone who had faced the storm and decided to walk through it with grace. What followed was a reversal so profound that even his critics had to pause. At Loewe, then Chanel, Wang Yibo emerged as more than a celebrity. He was an emblem of reinvention. His collaboration with global luxury brands marked a historic shift. He became the first Chinese artist to simultaneously represent 3 prestigious fashion houses. What once was gossip now became admiration, and the same cameras that once sought flaws now tried to capture his strength. The numbers reflected it too. Brand searches tripled, engagement soared, and international outlets praised his elegance as effortless mastery. But the transformation was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming narrative through quiet persistence. Wang Yibo showed that true dominance doesn't come from silencing others. It comes from perfecting oneself until there is nothing left to prove. His composure became his armor, his authenticity his weapon. By the time he stood under the Paris lights once again, the laughter had faded, replaced by applause. He didn't have to fight for respect. It arrived naturally, drawn to the gravity of his evolution. In that silence between doubt and triumph, Wang Yibo taught the world that the greatest form of power lies not in proving others wrong, but in becoming someone undeniable. Perhaps what makes Wang Yibo's story extraordinary is not the glitz, but the calm behind it. In an industry built on noise, he remains quiet, precise, intentional. While others chase trends, he lets his presence do the talking. His ability to stay composed, even under harsh public scrutiny, is what makes him magnetic. One stylist at Loewe described him best. He has the rare aura of someone who can turn criticism into couture. That's the mark of true class, not reacting but transforming. Wang Yibo's journey goes beyond the runway. It's a story about believing in yourself when the world doubts you. It's about an artist who understands that fame fades, but authenticity endures. For millions of fans around the world, he represents a new kind of success, one built on integrity, creativity, and quiet strength. As Xin Zhilei said, he's radiant not because of luxury clothes, but because of the confidence that comes from knowing your worth. And that's why this moment matters, not just for Wang Yibo, but for anyone who's ever been underestimated. He reminds us that elegance isn't about perfection, it's about resilience. True class doesn't demand attention, it earns respect. So here's to Wang Yibo, and to everyone who dares to rise again, even after falling. If the story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Star Watch Now, where we bring you inspiring stories from the world of music, film, and fashion. Thank you for watching, and remember, your story of courage might be the next one we tell.